Any of the views expressed in this show do not represent the views or opinions of those participating. We are merely observers.
Please do not reenact any of the stories you hear on our show.
Being featured on our show is not something to be proud of.
And as always, please drink responsibly.
I remember because I listen to Ethan and I take his things seriously. Welcome to another episode of Laughs and Drafts. My name is Jason Thomas, your resident fancy boy.
I'm Jared, your learned man.
And I'm Ethan. I'm the reason R. Kelly never misses.
Oh, lovely. And today we have with us for the first time my very good best friend, Kale Downtown Tigger Brown Shane. How you doing today, Kale? Yeah, it rolls. It was a little bit harder to say when it came out. I realized it was a little bit difficult. For those of you who've never listened to our show before, we go over strange news stories and cover a few different beers and talk about what we do and do not like about them. So let's go ahead and get into our first story of the night. This one is from NBC12.com, and the headline reads, Florida woman threatens hair salon with machete, poops in the patrol car. Customers and the owners of Jean Nicole Hair Salon told deputies they feared for their lives when Tracy Denise George Sirleaf approached... God, how many names you got on there? It's 4 names. Approached the shop machete in hand Monday evening. The shop's owner's quick thinking kept everyone safe, but the responding deputy's patrol car has had better days on the job. It all started around 5:30 p.m. The Lee County Sheriff told WBBH that George Sirleaf became unhinged, grabbed her things, and left the shop. She went to her car, but came back moments later in a rage and threw herself against the glass window. Detectives said she again went to her car, but returned wielding a machete this time.
Wow.
The shop owner locked the door as she approached. Other customers dialed 911 as she swung the weapon in the air. Deputies say George Sirleaf got within 7 or 8 feet of the door before suddenly changing directions. She set her eyes on the owner's truck, implying she would hit it. 2 Labrador retrievers were inside at the time.
What?
I like how they have to throw that in there to add the suspense. Yeah, eyewitnesses at the scene. This very, very dangerous, tense moment. The suspect reportedly turned her attention to another car just as a deputy arrived and ordered her to drop the sword. It is not a sword.
Sword.
Machete.
Yeah, it's a machete. Even Kale knows that. The deputy repeated command several times before George Sirleaf complied. She put down the blade, and deputy collected it as evidence. He handcuffed her and placed her in his patrol car for questioning. Unfortunately, that's when nature called, and the suspect defecated inside the unit. Authorities took the 43-year-old to the Lee County Jail, where she faces 2 counts of assault on a person 65 years or older.
Does assault change as
I don't know.
As the victim gets older?
I didn't think so.
Okay.
Did she assault someone 65 years or older? Or was she 65 years or older?
She was 43, right?
Oh, yeah, no, yeah. It said 43.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah, no. It sounds like so. It looks like. I guess it is. Is it different? I didn't know that it was different.
Maybe it's not as harsh because they're like they don't have as much life to live.
They're gonna croak anyway soon. You're not doing. I mean, what you did was bad, but it wasn't very bad.
What was the motivation behind the assault?
I don't. It just said that she left in outrage, so there was no, maybe got a bad hairdo or got gypped some cash or whatever people do at hair salons.
Who keeps a machete? Like
maybe she had just bought it and was looking for reasons to.
First off,
we've had
you got to keep them in your car at all times.
Like at all
keep
times.
The machete.
We've had tons of stories
Florida.
though about Floridians just having machetes.
Well, it's the gators.
This is the third one.
Since there's so many gators everywhere.
I was wondering because I heard many stories where people keep different type of weapons, bats, what have you, any type of cutting device, but specifically machete just seems so.
Well, it's
random,
in case, like I said, you can get on the highway when your car, pull off the highway, and be in a dense jungle forest with gators and rapists.
Makes more sense.
That's what's down in Florida. So you need something to get
it's hard
through
to tell
the bush.
The difference sometimes.
Yeah, one scaly helps the environment. Apparently,
sometimes
I'm not sure. and the other one's an
The
alligator.
other scaly, the other leathery skinned individual.
No,
All I could see is that Fry meme from Futurama where his eyes just squint. And he's like not sure if I'm about to get raped or eaten.
by a gator. Yeah, no. Actually, when I was down in Miami this last, this week, this Wednesday and Thursday,
Oh.
I was in Miami for work, and we went and ate at this place called was it Jim Bob?
Sounds
Jim,
about right.
Oh no, Jim Bo's. Because I remember saying Jim Bob, and I was like, that sounds particularly inbred. I don't know if that would work as a name, but we were right by the water, and sure enough, gators everywhere. They're just everywhere down there. So they're like a pest.
Oh yeah.
That just needs to be eradicated at any point in time. So, I mean, machetes, I guess, the best way to go about doing that.
Yeah, my aunt's from Tampa and had it I've only been there 3 visits in the time that, she's been in Tampa, and every visit there was like gators with babies. So like
Good
Gators
Lord.
with babies.
supposedly they breed like rabbits.
Well,
The alligators do too.
yeah. Yeah, Florida people. So let's go ahead. Just Jared, take us away to the next story.
Okay. Unicorn armpit hair is the best beauty trend of
Oh,
2019
wow,
so
no.
far.
Can we not?
We need to stop shaming women who refuse to succumb to stereotypical gender norms. Women have every right to embrace their body hair. I thought y'all would appreciate this one
I mean,
since our last episode.
You can.
I hope that
I'm not stopping you from doing
I
that.
really hope they're using period blood to dye.
Oh,
No.
You may have something
Would
there.
it come off multicolored?
Oh no, I'm seeing a lot of
if
colors
If they
here.
ingested a lot of Tide Pods,
okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, probably so.
then that would, it might come out different colors.
Oh my gosh.
I thought this was like
I don't know.
I thought this thing was actually done and gone because I remember this actually being, I don't know, maybe two years ago. It was like a thing to dye your underarm hair.
It was,
But,
yeah.
but
guess
I
they're
thought
bringing it
that
back.
like burnt out really quick because dyeing your hair is actually not that great for your body, and 2, it's just a lot of work for something that looks as unsettling as lime green underarm hair.
It's already unsettling to see underarm hair on a woman anyway.
I don't even like seeing underarm hair on myself, to be honest. I mean, if we're just going like personal preference, I look down on my own underarm hair and I'm like, I'd shave you, but man, it's gonna be prickly and it's gonna drive me insane, so I don't.
I want to see what it looks like straightened. I'm going to take a straightener.
I want to braid it.
Braid it, yeah.
Yeah.
Tiny
I
bow.
lift up my arm and just
That's
see
worse.
Jack Sparrow underneath.
just 2 beard ponytails.
With the little beads.
Yeah, little
exactly.
beads.
Yeah.
I got beads.
I've been
yeah.
to Jamaica recently.
The first month of the new year has been dubbed January, so I guess this story is a little bit old. But an ongoing celebration on social media encouraging women to grow out and show off their body hair. Now, women are dynamic, radiant, vibrant beings.
They are.
So naturally
They never were
January.
before until this.
Yeah, apparently not.
Oh, no.
No.
Calling them, they're dyeing it in rainbow shades. They're calling it unicorn pits. Let's see. To give you a bit of context, people report that one of the originators of the unicorn pit trend is YouTuber Official
Oh.
Rainbow Girl back in 2016. So this is what you were
Yeah.
talking about. She uploaded a tutorial on how to dye your armpit
Because
hair.
we know YouTubers are just the best people to take life advice from.
Yeah, Paul Logan.
Yeah.
Personal hero.
Logan Paul.
Logan Paul. Whatever.
Hulk Hogan? It's all the same.
Whatever the heck that guy's name is. The trend has resurged in 2019, and people everywhere are making the world a little brighter with their unicorn pits.
That's lovely. I'm glad to see that.
Whoosh.
I
Yeah,
guess
it's-
the rainbow hair became
Well, that
too
matches,
much, so they had to like go platinum on top and bring the rainbow.
Like there's
Hello?
okay, so like this is a nice accent piece, right?
Mhm.
To the rest of her,
Absolutely.
it matches all the colors. It's kind of like a nice handbag
Mhm.
for America.
Nice handbag. I don't know about that, but yeah, I mean, it's
Women do make nice handbags.
yeah.
It took a turn. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes. No.
Didn't take long at all.
It's you've already been converted.
Yeah.
You've only been here for a little bit, and we've already converted you. to saying terrible things.
It looks like mold is just like growing.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like when you start
Absolutely.
getting green, it starts looking
Absolutely.
like moss.
Looks like fungus in her pits.
it doesn't look.
That looks like she got cut up.
Yeah,
Oh,
I just
Lord.
I
It's
don't
going for the
under-
Harley Quinn there.
Why don't you just leave your underarm hair without color? Nobody cares.
Rainbow.
Whoa, that one's beautiful.
Oh God, no, rainbow is bad. That is not.
No,
Rainbow's bad.
It's all bad.
No, I mean there was a few in there that you showed me that were like, like at least things matched and it looked like a decent color scheme. But it's it's just no. Yeah, a lot of it's no.
I mean,
It's gonna be a no for me.
I always heard a ton
No
of
for me, dog.
friends that are. I always heard a ton of women say, "Oh gosh, I hate shaving my legs. It's such a like in the winter. Everybody apparently just looks like Bigfoot. It's a, it's a woman. They just cover up.
Yeah.
Let's just die.
Why don't you just dye your leg hair too?
Well,
Not just
they
the
probably
armpit
do.
hair and the. Well, nobody's dyeing their leg
well,
hair.
because like I think it's the once again what it comes down to is the people who dislike it is ladies. And so it's just like with leg hair, girls like, they don't necessarily like shaving their legs, but they like how it looks. So they shave their legs. And, it's like Diana, she shaves her legs not because I tell her to, because I don't care, but she doesn't want it. So it's just one of those things. If it was like something that they like readily just didn't want to do, I mean, legs would probably be the next step on the list of just, dyeing your hair. And then you can, just let your butt hair grow and your feet hair grow. Wherever else.
That's when I'm going to dye it. It's just going to be for me.
Yeah.
For nobody
just,
else.
For nobody else.
Maybe I'll do a YouTube tutorial on it or something.
Yeah.
So I can look
Why
in
does
the
it
mirror.
burn? It's
Look
burning.
in the mirror and say I'm happy with where my life has taken me to this point.
I think you should just do that before you die, is just look in the mirror and just say, I'm happy with where I'm at. I am proud of who I am.
It's like Bozo the
Proud
Clown's
of that
coming out of my
hair.
rectum.
Peekaboo. We're going to play a nice game of peekaboo. So, anyways, let's get out of this story. I swear. So, Kale, this is going to be your first time
Debut.
christening, your
Yes.
debut, your first story. So, it better be the best thing I've ever heard.
You want to be the best one? We'll go with funny first.
I'll
Let's
go
go
with
generally humorous.
Nodoro Elysian.
that. Elysian. That's a nice name.
He is one of the article writers for celebrity.us. Like
Oh, okay.
they fax, generally mostly fax, sometimes rumors. So his official post was, "The rumor come out. Does Bruno Mars is gay?"
The rumor come out.
Yes. Bruno Mars is gay is the most discussed in the media in the few years ago. Even it has happened in 2012. But some of the public still curious about what is exactly happening and to be the reason there is a rumor comes out about his gay. At that time, he became the massive social At that time, he became the massive social networking rumor. The public, especially his fans, are shocked. He just came out with his bad rumor, which is spread massively. This time is not about his music career, but his bad rumor. The rumor is out of standardized of hoax. According to last reported, this singer revealed himself as homosexual. Do you still believe or not? This rumor is really much talked by people and even persons of his fans.
I feel like he wrote that out, put it in Google Translate, put it in Japanese, then took the result, copy and pasted that, put it back into Google Translate, and then into English again.
So my question to you is Bruno Mars gay?
A gay? Is he a gay?
Is he a gay?
I believing he
His
suffered
gay has
from
come
big
out.
Gay. He has the big gay.
He gay come out?
He gay come out now? Oh my gosh.
I've derived
Oh, man.
nothing from that article except for maybe some fans thought he might be, is my assumption.
Yeah, well,
Has you maybe gay?
has you gay? Have you had?
Can I has info
how
on
many
the gay?
time of gay? Gosh, that is great.
I came to this because a friend of mine asked me that question and asked me that question just specifically the way it's posted, and thought it was a weird phrase. And he asked me if I had ever heard it, and I said no. He goes, that's an official post, and I should read it. So he sent it to me because I was like, that's probably
There's no
bogus,
way.
but it's legit.
Yeah, it's so disappointing. Like, there's a lot of times when we go through and we read our stories, especially now that we've been doing the show. And of course, I never was really like reading news articles back, before we did the show. So now, like, actually going through it, there's a lot of times we go through and read it, and it's just like, you may think that we're really just that bad at reading when that's just how it's written. And it's hard to read because it's just written so poorly. And of course, a lot of times that, you go through and you read it, we read like a good chunk, and it's always the chunk that you don't read.
Yeah,
That's like that. And then you're like, you get to that point and you just fail at everything and you sound like a blithering idiot. And it's like, I can't. This is how it's actually written.
And I don't know why I didn't think about it. Ethan made a good point. Probably it had to do with like some translation issue that
What?
just came out directly and posted.
Elysian?
Elysian doesn't sound.
What's this for? Hit, right? Him? It's a he?
Yeah, I
That wrote
guess it doesn't specify.
does it say
gender,
so?
How
but
dare you
but
assume?
it's Nadoro
Nadoro.
Alisan.
I don't know.
But it doesn't. That that could be.
I feel like he's going to be the lead in a new anime here soon.
Hey, don't you dare besmirch the name of anime. I actually have backup here now. I got Kale, who also enjoys anime, so you all can just stuff it. So, according to Nodoro, the name meaning in history, historically, surnames develop a way sort people into groups of occupation, place of origin, clan, affiliation, patronage, personage, adoption, and even physical characteristics like red hair. So let's actually look at. This actually doesn't tell me anything about that. It just decides,
I was like, when is he going to get to the origins of the name?
About
about red hair and
didn't
adoption.
happen.
I don't-
But according to this, there's a lot of them in New Jersey, so that could mean anything.
Mean something.
Yeah, I'm sure it means something.
A lot of people don't like New Jersey.
Yeah, a lot of
Doesn't
people
have a
don't-
great reputation.
Yeah, so I mean, but I don't see. Oh wait, there's a New Jersey, Lucia Nodoro. So that's the last name, though. I don't know if it still counts. But
Not a
anyways,
clue.
I'm glad you all took this journey with me where we learned nothing.
Well, I mean, much like that article.
Isn't that the,
Much like that article, we learned nothing.
isn't that the whole show pretty much?
I
Yes,
learned-
welcome to Laughs and Drafts. You didn't learn anything.
I learned that Bruno Mars maybe has gay.
Whatever that means.
He caught it.
He caught it. He caught the big gay.
Does Bruno Mars is gay?
Anyways, I've got one that usually I like the stories about dumb criminals, but this time, unfortunately, it was the dumb cops. But city settles with Brooklyn men arrested by NYPD cops who confused Jolly Ranchers for crystal meth.
Is that what's wrong with me? Because I ate a lot of Jolly
Jolly
Ranchers
Ranchers
as a
as a
kid.
It says the city has dispensed a sweet settlement to 3 Brooklyn men who sued the NYPD after cops bizarrely mistook Jolly Rancher candies for crystal meth.
Oh.
The Daily News has learned. With their $33,000 payday, plaintiffs. Oh, Lord. Okay, for the first guys,
You should.
I did read it. I just kind of glossed over the names.
That's the worst part.
The first is his first name is Love, and then the second dude's name, first name is Omar, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Oh wait, no, there's a Jimmy Santos. There's that one. That one's good.
Good job.
So there's Love, Omar, and then Jimmy Santos.
I think that's a solid 35%. You did really well.
No longer. So those guys no longer have a sour taste in their mouths after the trippy bus last year in Coney Island. The city admitted no wrongdoing on the part of the cops, arguing they couldn't be sure whether the red and blue rocks were illicit drugs or candy, according to the plaintiff's lawyer, Kenneth Smith.
Let me some blue razz.
And so
Yeah,
like,
raspberry. That is the one to go for. Blues raspberry and watermelon were the two ones that I just all day.
No, Omar.
but it says, to my knowledge, there is no evidence in the scientific literature that crystal meth looks like Jolly Ranchers or rock candy, other than from the Breaking Bad TV show, Smith
Yeah, I
told
figured.
the news. Walter White may dictate what drugs look like in TV land, but not the narcotics policy of the NYPD. Smith
Isn't it
added.
usually like clear? Isn't it a clear crystal?
I mean, when I make it, that's usually what it comes out.
It comes out of the clear crystal? Okay.
Should be.
I've never
Maybe I've just been doing it
contraband,
wrong. So I have too much flour.
The dude named Love, whose last name I'm not going to pronounce, 26, and the other guy named Omar, whose last name I'm still not going to pronounce, 23, were stopped by the cops shortly after leaving the It Sugar Candy Emporium on Surf Avenue, where they had purchased various sweet treats, including Jolly Ranchers, according to the papers filed in Brooklyn Federal Court. Police officers Jermaine Taylor and Giovanni Calderon handcuffed the men and claimed that an undercover colleague had observed them selling drugs, the court papers state. Finding only candy, including the Jolly Rancher candy mentioned, the officers repeatedly searched Love and Omar and told them it was only a matter of time before they found something. Boy, this sounds more like profiling. Just a little
Just gonna
bit.
throw that out there.
Sano, 27, standing nearby his 3-year-old daughter, protested the arrest of his two friends. Officers Diana Picardo ordered Sano's arrest, and he was allegedly punched in the face by an unidentified cop before all 3 men were transported to the 60th Precinct Station House. Court documents filed in the connection with the drug possession charges against Love and Omar asserted that the cops had performed a field test on the candy and it tested positive for a controlled substance. Sano was charged with obstructing government administration. They spent 24 hours in custody before a judge released them on their own recognizance. That's a weird. Okay, whatever.
It's okay. You give it your best.
Reconnaissance.
I have a hard time.
So actually, this is weird. When I was going through finding all my stories for today, I pulled up 2 different stories of similar things. One was a guy that got arrested because he was eating Krispy Kreme in his truck, and when the cops came up to him and talked to him, he had Krispy Kreme flakes on his shirt, and they were like, "That's crystal meth." And so they arrested him for it, and then ended up paying out some like $30,000 because of that. And then there was another one where it was a dude that was a construction worker and had drywall dust on his floor mat, and they were like, "It's cocaine." And they just arrested him. And I was like, I feel like there's got to be some steps involved that we're walking over here a little bit before we get arrested.
I have a feeling none of the people they picked up look like us, though.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. But why don't they do that thing where they taste it? Because that's what I've always seen on TV. So if you're going to just assume what it looks like on TV, you should just put your finger on that floor mat.
Just grab the guy with the Krispy Kreme on his shirt.
Just like his shirt, yeah. Let me get in there nice and deep.
This is almost over, I promise. The NYPD laboratory later concluded the 2 red and 4 blue crystalline rocks of solid material were not drugs, and then the case went up in smoke. After the suit was filed, Smith said he was informed by the city that there was in fact no drug field test performed and that the cops insisted the district attorney's officer was never told otherwise. Love and Omar, I'm not going to pronounce it, will pocket $4,000 each and $25,000 to Sano to settle their claims, according to papers filed last month.
No, I feel bad. I got arrested. He got punched in the face, and he gets $25,000. I only get $4,000. I would rather be hit in the face than get $25,000. That's just.
Well, it's
Yeah,
just
you survive.
Yeah, I definitely survive, and I'll definitely survive a little bit better with $25,000.
you would think though that especially if they were nearby like a candy store, and then they had handfuls of what
Sure, they picked him up.
looks like candy.
But what I'm going to ask you this: how many candy stores do you know of in the area?
Exactly. And if there's a candy store close by, that's a
I
good
mean, I
alibi.
run one out of my house on a daily basis.
I was going to say none because you're not a creepy pedophile.
Yeah, right.
But still, like, let's say, like, you know, it mentioned they were near one, and I mean, no one, obviously, we can't think of one near us. So the fact that there's like,
If there is one.
they didn't even connect the
Jeffersonville.
two.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, there's Jeffersonville.
has
Yeah,
one. But no, that's the only one I
but
can
still, like,
Actually know the
if you were-
location of the candy
There's a
shop?
second one in St. Matthews. It's a gummy bear.
Okay, so let's say you
Sure.
were standing near one of those and had candy in your hand, and a cop
Yeah.
came up and was like, "What the hell is that?" You know what I mean? It's meth. It's like, no, I got it over there. I mean,
Yes. I guess they're just not trying anymore.
No.
Let's just jump the steps.
We got a quota to
Yeah, I
meet.
got quotas to meet, man.
It's either that or they're just assuming people are getting so creative that they can put them in candy
Well, there
form now.
was that one that had it was the meth lollipops, and they were Star Wars. They were shaped like Star Wars figurines, and it was like some outrageous number of lollipops. But so
Yeah.
I mean, it is. I guess technically,
Adults don't eat candy. They
Yeah,
only do
adult-
coke or crystal meth.
But most of the time, it's mostly like the dude that we found out that had was making his energy drinks from his treehouse.
Oh, I heard that wasn't. I heard that wasn't real.
Oh,
That like
gasoline
bummed me out. The guy that peed in all the energy drinks was like handing them out. He was beating it to Arabic corn mags.
Arabic
That
corn
was
mag. He was
Oh,
putting like
man.
gasoline and like all kinds of
yeah.
drugs.
It
in
was
there.
like it was really bad, and it was like meth. So they were saying it was gas, meth, and it was like lemonade, and it said like homemade energy drinks. This guy was
like
selling them out of his
from
treehouse.
2-liter bottles.
And yeah, no, it wasn't real.
No.
That was such
Man.
a such a
like
downer.
he looked like the real Popeye, dude.
Yeah, I mean, there's
I don't know if
I
it's from a
choose not to
stroke.
believe that it was real.
it'll always be real in my heart. And that's where it matters. So let's go ahead and get into our first beer of the night.
So this beer that we have today, this first one for the episode, is made by a friend of ours and a listener of the show. Him and a friend of his went in on a Buffalo Trace bourbon barrel, and that's what they used to store and age the beer. They made it about February, March of last year, aged it for 6 weeks in the barrel, and then here we have the final product. And it is definitely you would say it's a stout, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's very dark, and it's very good. You can taste that bourbon in it.
Yeah,
which is
I'm-
nice.
I think definitely. Of course, the initial colors. It is solid black. It had about a medium head on it. It was a nice dark creamy color.
Lasted about a minute.
Yeah, it lasted about a minute. It was it doesn't really have any kind of aroma to it. I don't really get a lot on the nose. As you mentioned, there may, if anything, it's maybe a tiny bit of that bourbon.
Yeah.
That you're able to kind of smell, but I don't know. I really enjoy it personally. Especially with a lot of stouts. Once again, a lot of things we run into is usually on the IBUs, a little on the higher side. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit more knock your socks off. But this one, the hops seem more restrained, and everything feels like, once again, very well balanced. You get that real unique bourbon kind of blend in with it, which kind of gives it a sweeter taste. And I'm pretty impressed.
I think the thing that's special about this is some bourbon barrel stouts can be overbearing when they've been aged too long. I think actually in the barrel.
Yeah.
But he specifically took it out after 6 weeks, and then put it into bottle, which then it
Right.
will continue to age inside the bottle, even though it's out. So it's flavors from that 6 weeks, I think, which includes to the balance, where it's not too strong either way. You get the best of both worlds. You get the bourbon flavor on there, but it doesn't taste straight up like bourbon.
Yeah.
So
Did he say-
had it been marinating in there in the barrel
Yeah.
longer, it might have pulled too heavily on that side.
right.
Did he say, was this his first venture into making beer?
No, he's been doing it on and off for a few years. But
I
he,
was gonna say, if that was his first time, he's like,
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
pretty
That's really
impressive.
good.
I think this was his second or third stout
Okay.
that
I mean,
he's
that's
made.
that's still pretty. I mean, if you can make beer in general, I'm just going to go ahead and put it on the table.
That's
it's
palatable.
impressive. Yeah. If you make beer that's palatable, then it is impressive.
Yeah.
That's one of those words.
I think the most unique thing to me is the fact that it's stout, but it's probably one of the least heavy. Sometimes stouts can almost feel like oatmeal when you're drinking them. They're so thick.
Yeah, can
God,
be.
it's
Some
just
of
going
them,
down
not,
like concrete.
not most of them, but some of them
Yep.
are that way. But this is probably the smoothest that I've tasted, it definitely is sweet, but it has like a bit of a slight like sour aftertaste, not like in a bad way, but just like a little bit of a little bit of a sour note.
Yeah, it just offsets it.
Just at the end. So it's
Yeah.
not like doesn't feel like you just downed a bunch of sugar and you got it left in your mouth.
And that, and it's one of the big things that I usually find with stouts is like the aftertaste is usually pretty
Oh
rank.
yeah, it can get pretty bitter sometimes.
And for this one, I can't really put my finger on any particular notes that I'm catching more than the other, but it just has a pleasant aftertaste. So
Everything seems to be well blended. Like
Yeah.
nothing's pulling too heavy one way or the other.
And I feel like for me, the most prominent flavor is the bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
And so for having that, like, labeling this as a bourbon barrel brew, and then that's like the first and foremost thing that you taste, I think is pretty cool.
yeah, and it's just hard to.
So I feel like I would do that, and I'd buy a bourbon barrel, and then you just like wouldn't taste it.
Like it doesn't
Yeah.
even it
Yeah.
doesn't even adhere heavily to the glass.
No.
Like
Yeah.
a lot of stouts, like you'll see like the head kind of pull and stay there, and this one just kind of I don't know.
It's not very
different.
viscous.
Yeah, it doesn't have a viscosity.
I wish my vocabulary was better. It was as good as
Well,
yours.
Jared has a guide that basically. I mean, we're barely touching on a few things because obviously it would get to like grueling to go into like the
Beer
what was
snob?
it, ephemeral and femoral or epitaph and carotid arteries of the beer.
After a while, it's like reading an encyclopedia.
Yeah, after a
Yeah,
while,
it-
it does get a little bit.
it can be.
It's a little
Got
bit
it.
much, but
Well, I guess we should establish kind of like where are you as far as beer, not knowledge, but experience with drinking beer. Like
Me?
Yeah, like if you had a whole ton, or you're just starting, or
I've been
how would
drinking-
you describe?
I've been drinking for a
yourself?
while.
he's pretty on off again
on-
alcoholic.
Yeah, without, yeah,
Well, it's like Jason. He didn't know anything about beer.
Yeah, I
Now, in stouts, I probably would say I probably prefer most stout beers over any other beers. There are some stouts I don't like,
Mhm.
but in like all the different like porters, lagers, like all those different IPAs, all that stuff, I would say stouts in the amount of stouts that exist, I like more than I don't. Like probably 70% of most stouts
Yeah,
that
sure.
exist that I've had that I liked them. So I might prefer that as is.
Sure,
Um,
absolutely.
But I've had a
Have we
good
ever-
number of different types of beers.
Have we ever talked about what everybody's favorite beer is? Because Kale, you're a stout guy.
I'd say I lean
No,
more
I
towards
don't think
stouts
we
and
ever have
lagers.
really.
No,
Yeah.
we definitely haven't.
What's your favorite beer, Jared?
don't-
Style of beer.
I honestly don't. It changes constantly. It,
Tell me about your
Tell me about your favorites.
Tell me about your favorite. Undo that.
when you
time.
go to a bar, what do you gravitate towards?
Oh God. Jeez. I think I go from heaviness as far as the gravity.
You're just
so
throwing words together now that I don't understand.
color. I go by color. I segregate. No,
So let's go ahead and isolate that segment and put it on the soundboard.
I go by like a wheat beer first. Like I don't start with the stout, but like depending on how many I'm going to drink, I usually like to get like a flight or a half pour or something like that, so I can try multiple
varieties.
things. Yeah, even if I've been there like multiple times, I just like I like all kinds of beer. But
Yeah. Well, that's when you ask me that. It's a difficult question to answer.
It really
the
is.
only way I could even envision answering it is based off of all the different beers I've had. So between lagers, porters, IPAs, stouts, and the like,
It's fun.
the amount of each that I've ended up liking over disliking.
Yeah.
That's the only way I could really
Yeah.
say. Because I mean, I would say I hate IPAs. It's not true. There's at least 4 I can think of that I like. But majority of IPAs, I would say I'd steer away from for me
Yeah.
because it's just not my preference.
yeah,
That's the only way I could think to like really say
Right.
I
you
would-
like more stouts out of
yes,
the range of stouts.
the amount that I've had
you
and how
do,
many
yeah.
I've liked
Yeah,
and
fair-
disliked.
yeah,
There
fair
have been
enough.
more stouts that I've liked.
I would say at the very beginning, I centered more around stout. I think the first time that when I turned 21, the first thing I bought was Guinness, like a 6-pack of Guinness.
The first beer, the second.
Yeah.
So your first legal drink was Guinness.
Yeah, it was actually at your place over
Oh,
when you got your first apartment, and I had turned 21, and I was going to bring some beer over.
Was
We
it
had
stout
Guinness.
or just Guinness Draft?
We had I think it was the extra.
oh man, you better remember you're a bad friend.
Oh no, I don't remember exactly what it
Satan, I'm telling you, it's fine.
was.
Comes in and out. We talk.
The door's shaking. I don't
Like
it.
stouts.
Anytime someone
what
opens
about-
closes the door in my apartment.
But what about you? What would you say?
For me?
Yeah.
I would say you know when you like there's some drinks or especially alcoholic drinks that you drink that and it's just like your eyes almost roll back in your head as much as you like that tastes so good.
Going way beyond.
But like
Take me now, Jesus.
but like Hefeweizens, I almost like every one of them, you know. And
Yeah.
so like wheat beers, I guess, is a broad term, but like I love El Jefes.
But that is a
It's the
style
same.
of beer.
I'd say the same for me.
That's big.
I like Hefeweizen. I like, light wheat beers. Usually, because I'm once again when I drink, it's because I want like crisp, refreshing. I do enjoy stouts, but I just got to be in the mood for it. But
Right.
if I'm gonna pick, you're gonna put a gun to my head, I'm gonna take a Hefeweizen.
I think I tend to gravitate towards a beer that I can feel like I could drink more than one of at any given point.
Yeah, I definitely would say that stouts I would have a lot. Like I definitely would drink less stout. So if I was wanting to sit down and drink a few beers,
Yeah.
stouts might not be the choice for the day.
It is definitely one of those things where it's like I'm going to be sipping on this beer. So if you like to casually sip on a beer and not like, oh, I really like this flavor and I'll constantly have a few, then stouts, I mean, most likely, unless you're a stout junkie, it's not going to be one of those things
True.
that you're just pounding down. But so we got team wheat or team German. It's Pilsner.
we got the
Pilsners
Allied forces and the Axis forces.
Well, you took it there, but all right. So we got you and I, stouts, you and me, Kale, and then German beers is your all's thing.
Well,
You
I'm
can
glad
have it. No.
I don't want to be associated with you.
Some people like putting skunks in their mouth. But
Yeah, you can have it. Ugh. Gosh.
So we can't actually rate it.
But if
no,
you
we
did-
can. We can.
I
we
mean,
can
give
rate
it
it
a-
for this
a-
show.
yeah, for this
we
show,
can't
but
do
we
anything
can't actually do
Untappd.
it in the
But if I had to rate it, I would say, I'd say 4.
I'm there with
That's
you.
what I was thinking. So
Solid 4 out of 5.
Oh yeah, I was like 4 out of 10. I was like, I thought you guys liked it. No, 4 out of 5 for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely
And
definitely.
that's
a good
not
job.
because he's a friend.
Yeah, no,
No.
I don't even know you, and I personally hate your guts. I just want to throw it out there. But your beer's great. I appreciate you sending it in. I really do. So let's go ahead and get into our next round of stories. This one is from New York Post. The headline reads, "A mystery pooper is tormenting Broadway." A mystery pooper that has turned Broadway into the Great Wipe Way, laying waste to audition rooms by using them as a personal potty and revolting thespians. The stealthy stink bomber struck during tryouts for the Magic Mike musical at Pearl Studios. So, are they actually doing a Magic Mike musical?
Oh, yeah. They do a musical of anything these days. Anything.
It's not even a musical. Just you can go to a strip club with dudes and you get.
You get music, but you don't actually get them singing, though.
I don't need them
Right?
singing, right?
Well, that's what a musical is your main
Apparently everybody
characters.
else does.
Your main,
I
I don't
I'm
know.
just
I don't know.
easy.
I don't know
easy.
if you understand that Magic Mike is now actually like viewed as like a great movie these days.
All right,
Oh
take
my
it out.
God.
Now sing for me.
No, sing for me.
You ever heard of the
You have
helicopter?
no idea. You have no idea the hell I can bring you. Anyways, the salty stink bomber struck during the Magic Mike tryouts at the Pearl Studios at 508th Avenue on February 26th and again on March 6th at the Ripley Greer space down the block. There was a lot of disbelief, said actress Eunice Bay of the first incident, when she saw a show rep slip on something on the floor. She said, she stopped and said, "Oh, I just stepped in crap." Well, we all laughed, thinking it was just some slang version to mean general mess, but when we began to smell it, it sank in. Fellow auditioner Ali Faye Monica said, "The first theory was that someone carried it off the street on their shoes, but there was no way that was plausible given the way it looked. Well, it was a fresh pile." Theater Insider had plunged in with their own hunches about what might have prompted the predator and to want to dump an Actors Equity Association. And one of the big things, and I'll kind of go into this because I read this ahead of time, there's a big thing about non-union and union actors and about how they don't get paid, and there may be some beef going on that are causing the poos. But
Not a part of the SAG.
yeah, exactly. So
I forget what it stands for, but that's what they call it.
Anyways, it's not all bad, apparently. One actress was grateful for the comic relief. Alexandra Rose posted her thanks to the serial pooper on Ask Ifs to testify for getting me through this particularly arduous audition season. Others wondered if a jittery performer, perhaps on an all-tea diet, popular with Broadway stars, simply couldn't get to the bathroom in time.
I mean, I can imagine if you were there, having not stepped in it, but even maybe then, it's memorable. It's funny.
Yeah, I mean, my
After you
thing
deal with the
is like,
initial
as
shock.
long as it don't get in my mouth, like we can all laugh about it.
Yeah.
So it can go, on the
Of
walls.
course, that can happen very quickly. When you
Yeah,
step in it.
that's the thing. Is poop is so there's everything obeys laws of physics except for bad news, which obeys its own. Thank you, Ethan. I appreciate it. But poop, on the other hand, is a magical substance that once it is introduced into the ecosystem, somehow manages to get everywhere and anywhere at any given speed.
Yep.
So that's one thing.
Once it's present, it's probably is in your mouth.
Speaking of wanting to take a dump on somebody, Ethan, I would like to.
What was that called? The Cleveland waffle?
Hot waffle.
Oh wow!
The hot
Get your
waffle.
tennis racket
Cleveland
out.
hot waffle. Let me go get a tennis racket, Ethan. we're going to be good friends here. Jared, take us away to the next story.
Alrighty. We have goat thefts plague California agricultural region. Fresno, California. A rash of goat thefts is plaguing California's San Algonquin Valley. The Fresno County Sheriff's Agricultural Task Force says there have been 7 reports of goats being stolen between January 9th and March 7th.
There's your tax dollars at work, ladies and gentlemen.
In all, 61 goats worth $27,000 have
Oh,
been taken
never
from
mind.
private properties
Jeez.
south.
61
Goodness.
goats?
Yes, worth $27,000.
Do they know that? That's I feel like that's not that much. Okay.
Investigators say one of the most notable cases occurred last Thursday when members of the Kingsburg 4-H Club had 11 goats stolen from a pasture on Fruit Avenue in Fresno.
What was that? It's that one guy that went to town on that one goat.
Oh, God, no.
It's him. He's back.
Presented the courtroom evidence.
One wasn't enough.
Yeah,
I need all of them.
I have a hunger that can't be
Oh god!
quenched.
Goat flesh, but not in my mouth.
During the weekend,
Not in my mouth.
Pounding that pound of flesh. $27,000 blow-up doll.
I mean, goats are bitey, so I don't feel like that's a thing. That
Well, that's what
work out.
I didn't think it was a thing either. But one of the stories we covered, there was a dude, and it was it 2 goats that he raped to death?
oh my gosh!
yeah.
I mean,
They died from exhaustion.
They have hooves. First off, they like to buck. They have horns, and they're very bitey.
and it's and I like to party.
How does that even happen? Oh my gosh!
That's what it actually says. I was at the gym working out one day,
But, yeah.
and they have Kill Bill playing, and I was like, "Oh, I love Kill Bill." So I'm sitting there watching it, and that part where the dude comes up, he's like, "My name's Buck, and I like
yeah.
but instead he literally goes, "My name's Buck," and the voiceover after they got to do it was just like, "I like to party." I was like, "Wow, you didn't even try."
No, that's funny.
What was it? The worst. One of the worst ones personally I saw was the Snakes on a Plane, and it was like Samuel Jackson was like, "There's too many mother-loving snakes on this Monday to Friday plane."
Monday to Friday play.
What's it? Shaun of the Dead. What was it that they said? When he was
Fluff?
like, no, Funkin'.
Oh yeah,
Funk.
funk.
Yeah.
He was like,
Yeah.
and you are playing this funkin' electro. Oh, funkin' night. And I was like, it still kind of works. Like, I actually agree with this. This kind of works. But
British
yeah.
say silly things. Why they don't say
Yeah,
funkin'?
British have weird, terms. Bloody is a negative term, apparently.
No, you can't say that.
And I mean, yeah,
They do, but-
they can try to stop me. I'll just remind them what we did about tea, something about tea back in the old colonial days. Taxation,
Teabagging.
No, we're in different parts of the.
Oh,
field.
I got you.
So, Kale, go ahead and take us away to our next story.
Boston.
So
tea
speaking of hipsters,
massacre, Harvard.
our new topic.
Moving on.
I pulled this article from
Austin Tea Party.
There you go.
He got there,
got
ladies.
That's what it is.
He got
I was like, you can't master tea, but I was the one that said it.
Yeah.
So I was like, how did it?
That's wrong, but I'm not usually wrong.
I got this article from NPR Strange News. The title is Man Inadvertently Proves That Hipsters Look Alike by Mistaking Photo as Himself.
Interesting.
A lot of people make that correspondence or assumption that all hipsters
Look alike.
Look alike.
Yeah.
So they are conforming. Well, this article goes into it. I think Lindsay Fingold.
Well, that's a great name.
It's a running joke that male hipsters all look alike with their flannel shirts, thick beards,
Beanies.
and other seemingly off-brand attributes. But a comical incident in the MIT Technology Review might just prove that they all really do look alike. The publication recently published an article on a study out of Brandeis University about the hipster effect. What the study found essentially was that when a group of people decide to be different, to do something non-conforming, there comes a point when they all end up adopting the same behavior or the same style. Gideon Litchfield, editor-in-chief of MTI Technology Review, told NPR's Lulu Garcia Navarro for Weekend Edition, while the study proves this theory, so does accidentally thinking the edited photo at the top of the story, which featured a man in a plaid shirt with a beanie on, is yourself. Right after the article was published, MIT Technology Review promptly received an email from someone who claimed he was the man in the photo and hadn't given his consent. He accused the publication of slandering him and threatening legal action. The email wrote, "You used a heavily edited Getty image of me for your recent bit of clickbait about why hipsters all look the same."
Wait, isn't Getty Images?
Yes, it's an official, they hire models.
Yeah, but isn't it free? Like, you pay Getty, and you get royalty-free images.
Right.
So why would you need consent?
Well, no, Getty gets consent.
Oh,
They
To
explain,
take the
I think they
picture.
explain that.
Oh,
But
okay. To
that
take
is
the
how that
picture of
works.
them.
I was
They
about to
take
say.
the photos. You have to have consent to take photos.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
So they use this Getty
You not know
image.
how that works? Somewhere you were in
Yeah,
an
not
elementary,
in my house.
across from an elementary school, and
Yeah.
the book just there.
And this is just emphasizing how he
This is
clearly,
consent.
he clearly doesn't know how that works. It's a poorly written and insulting article, and somewhat ironically, about 5 years too late to be as desperately relevant as it's attempting to be. I like his.
Yes, lovely.
Yeah.
I already want to hit
When-
him with a car.
When
Yeah.
will it ever be relevant? Is what I want to ask
Right.
each and every hipster.
Oh my gosh. By using a tired cultural trope to try to spruce up an otherwise disturbing study, your lack of basic journalistic ethics and both the manner in which you reported this uncredited nonsense and the slanderous, unnecessary use of my picture without permission demands a response, and I am, of course, pursuing legal action.
Let's just put as many big words in here as I can possibly fit.
Find
'Cause
your lack of consent
that make
disturbing.
me smart. My Bruno Mars gay.
Yep. So, Litchfield and his team quickly checked to see if the model in the photo that they had used was, if that model signed a release form. So they contacted Getty Images, which found that the person who signed the model release was not the person who wrote the angry email. After the misunderstanding was cleared up, the man responded by saying to Getty Images, "Wow, I stand corrected, I guess. I even have a very similar hat and shirt. Though in full color, I can see it's not the same. Thank you for getting back to me and resolving the issue." I like
issue?
how this still isn't quite over.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
helping me out with that. You were threatening to sue us a second ago.
I like how he. The only way it would look like him completely is if it was mildly photoshopped, and then he also didn't see any of the photos in the color format, which they did have
Yeah.
a color photo. So like that obviously wasn't very thorough.
It's got to be an exhausting way to live your life, though.
Just constantly looking for stuff to
Constantly-
be upset about.
Well, yes, that too, but not only that, but just seeing a trend, doing the opposite of that trend until the thing that you're doing becomes a trend, and then changing that again constantly.
Yeah. I don't know, man. That's why I just walk around
Can't be
naked
wearing
90%
flannel.
of the time.
Can't be wearing
One day it'll catch on.
Yeah.
The last time it was popular was way back in the day. But yeah, so hopefully maybe one point in time.
I'd love to have an ignorant hipster that goes to a nudist colony.
Yeah.
And he's been doing it all this time and he comes across one and he's like, oh, come on.
I thought this was a cool thing to do. No,
No, it's mainstream.
nobody. Yeah, it's mainstream. Gosh. Oh, man. When I was over in Germany, there was a few times where we stumbled upon a nudist colony. We were on this, it was a nudist beach, but it was full of nude people. And we didn't know because we were at this military base where it was a big lake, and the other side was not,
Not a lake.
not a military base. And we got these little kayaks, and we like paddled across the water. And then we were like, oh, look, a beach. And as we get closer, we're like, wait a minute.
That's a lot of penis. This is unusual.
It seems like there's a lot of elephant trunks out here.
Then I paddled faster.
I paddled faster. Sign
better
me
get up
up,
for a
ladies
closer
and gentlemen. Sign me up. No, it was it was very unsettling, because I'm used to having everything covered and things were not.
I was like, man, that work will set you free.
Oh no! Gosh, you always got to make some kind of Nazi joke. Always got to be something. Gosh, as soon as the Germans are mentioned, you're just like chomping at the bit over there. Like he's eventually going to
It's
say
so
something,
easy.
and I'm going
It's
to be
so
able to
easy.
say Nazis.
It's so easy.
Oh gosh, Ethan, take us away from this Arbeit macht frei.
I got another, meth story.
Oh great,
Is meth
This
good?
my favorite.
Does everybody like meth?
Yeah.
Hospital staff finds crystal meth stuck to patient's buttocks. Vero Beach, a nurse at the Cleveland Clinic Indian River Hospital in Vero Beach, found crystal meth stuck to a patient's buttocks, according to the Indian River County Sheriff's Office. The patient was identified as 48-year-old Ronald Morrison of Vero Beach. Morrison was admitted to the hospital due to an infection, according to the affidavit. Nurses were removing Morrison's underwear and located a clear plastic baggie containing a clear crystal substance stuck to his left butt cheek, the deputy said.
Went to the candy store.
Yep. It's funny that it didn't look like Jolly Ranchers. The deputy identified the substance as crystal meth. Morrison told the deputy that his friends might have put it in his underwear, not realizing it was there. The crystal meth was placed into evidence, and the sheriff's office will follow up with Morrison once he's been released from the hospital.
Packet?
Yeah, it was like a little,
Okay.
this little plastic baggie.
That's what I figured.
Yeah,
And then
it was.
Just like brush it
Stuck.
off.
I think the way it sounded is
Got
it's
some
like
meth on your butt.
Got a
Let me
little
get.
meth
Let me
there.
get
he
that
just
for
thought, like, let me just stick this in my underwear
Oh,
and
yeah.
nobody will find
Oh,
it. And then
okay.
it was just happened to stick.
Stick there, yeah.
Yeah. That happens.
hot
I mean, it
day.
happens to me every once in
Yeah,
a
it's a
while.
hot day. Wearing jeans. Nothing. No place to hide your meth. And if only the things that these jeans that you're wearing, if they only came with pockets or some way to store your meth. Instead,
You
let's
don't ever
just-
put your Jolly Ranchers there?
Oh wait, that's right.
put
That's
mine in my
already
underwear.
that's already real estate that's been taken up. So with my car keys and my various 20 pounds of Jolly Ranchers that I carry with me at all times.
Right.
So which is also meth, but just in Jolly Rancher form.
I like to mix them together. And that way it's like a fun bag and you
You
never
never
really
know.
know what you're going to get.
Am I going to get an upper? Am I going to get a downer? Which one am I going to get? That was one of those things that I remember, like, blew me away when I found out was the thing was it Skittles parties, where you go to a party and you bring random meds.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And you go, and that's
not
the thing.
following
To
at
get
first.
into,
I know.
to get into the party, you have to bring like a bottle of medication, multiple bottles if you have it.
Oh, really?
And then you go and you pour it all into a bowl, and then they just mix everything together, and then you just take like pinches of it.
I would
and
just
take
bring
it.
laxatives and stool salt. It wouldn't matter. We're all going
Can you
down.
imagine that? Just like massive erection, and I can't stop pooping. It's just the
only
worst thing
time
ever. I can't pee while I'm taking a dump because I'm spraying myself in the face. Yeah, I've never actually been to a Skittles party. Just want to throw that out there, but sounds like
You
First
said
time
that,
for
and
everything.
I imagine just like they had to bring a bunch of Skittles. First off, were involved.
Hey, I did that. We did that, right? That's what I thought you were talking about. Or we
No, that
bought,
was-
like,
No
couple
one better
pounds
bring
of
those
Skittles.
spicy ones. You freaking pagans.
Yeah,
Dude,
the ones that
did
taste
you
like
actually
They're
try
spicy
it?
ones. I've never tried them, but I don't
Oh,
they're unholy.
tried it, but I don't like it.
I don't like the idea.
Just for you, I'm gonna swap. I'm gonna buy 2 bags. I'm gonna buy one original and put the spicy ones and switch them.
Why do these taste so bad? I'm gonna keep eating them though because they're in an original bag. Yeah, I've never tried that. I know Diana's got she has a ton of candy. She recently went to the Mexican store and just went to town buying like all these different candies. And the thing is, it's like she got like 5 or 6 different like variations of candy. Mm-hmm. They're all the same because they all have this particular spice on it. So it's like, here, you got some mango chewies covered in spice, so they just taste like the spice. Here, there's this thing called like what's it, like melon bello or something like, I can't remember, but it's like you press it down and like this paste comes out and you're like, oh, this is gonna be fruity. Nope, it's just the same spice that was on the last candy. I got some suckers here for you, mango flavored, covered in spice. They just taste like spice. I just don't understand it. Like everything is
Everything's
spice flavored.
I've never been able to get a candy from a Mexican store that I like.
Yeah,
Ever.
Yeah,
You're just racist.
Well, that could be it too. I don't know.
There's
I was like, dang,
personal
How dare you?
disgusted in here.
personal taste aside.
This candy sucks. And so do you, Pedro.
I'm gonna make sure to play this specifically for Diana whenever it comes out. She'll be like, oh, well, I'll be darned. Jared is.
I knew it.
I knew
We'll
it.
see if it makes the final cut.
I'd like to edit this episode, Jared, if you would.
No, that's okay. I got it from here.
I'll take it from here. All right, let's go ahead and get into our last beer of the night.
Okay, so our second one for the night is the Founder's Blushing Monk, which is a limited time Belgian style ale brewed with raspberries. 9.2%, so that's pretty high.
Yeah.
That's really high.
Yeah.
But they have a short little description of it on their website. They say it's available from January to March. They say, when our love of fruit and our love of beer come together, Blushing Monk happens. Brewed with a ridiculous amount of raspberries for tart, yet luscious raspberry jam character, and fermented with Belgian yeast for subtle fruit and spice esters. Think of Blushing Monk as Rubeus' older sibling, more intense. Oh, Rubeus, I'm sorry, because I've had that beer before. Have you all had Rubeus? Founder's Rubeus?
No.
Okay. It's very similar. Yeah,
Very
very
similar.
similar, yeah. But it says more intense, slightly larger, and just a bit more mature.
Yeah, so
Bethany loves, they had that, that's the Founders, I think it's Rubeus is how it's pronounced.
Rubius.
But it's like
Sounds like something I'd call my genitals.
I think that's how it's
Rubeus
pronounced.
says hello.
I don't think it's
But,
with a B. I think it's
It's super fruity.
it's Rubeus, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
Rubeus.
Well, that's a missed opportunity because you do beer and it's brew and could have been, instead of Rubius, could have been Brubius.
Rubeaus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, so getting into this beer, definitely getting raspberry notes on the nose. I mean, that's all you smell is just like intense raspberry.
It is
It
red.
is red. I mean, blood red. And it is a beautiful color.
It's blood red, you say?
Yes, it is blood red. Has virtually zero head on it. Has a little bit of carbonation. The thing that so initially, my first swig of this was unpleasant. Not it's like it's not the front end or the middle. You definitely like on the tip of the tongue, it is incredibly good. In the middle, you get that carbonation and that like nice mouthfeel that it has on it. but the ends on that syrup. It's just it tastes like syrup, and it's almost so strong that it's like cough syrup.
Yeah, the color. I mean, the color resembles what you would see in a cherry cough syrup bottle, and and I agree with Jason, especially that initial taste. It's just such a shock to the palate.
Yeah,
it is so tart. Like, I mean, it is like if you've ever eaten like one of those cherry tarts or raspberry tart. It's that like it impacts you that heavily. It's a heavy bite.
I've never actually had a tart.
No, they're exactly like that.
Yeah.
Some people like them. If you do, this might be the beer for you.
I see you over there winking at each other, and it's making me quite upset.
I will say
so tart
on the, but after that initial drink, just the second and third.
You know what it reminds me of? I'm sorry, not to.
No, you go ahead.
Like cranberry juice, how punchy that is. That's what that reminds me of.
Yeah, and it is. It does feel like that. I don't know if anyone's ever had the Abita Purple Haze.
Ooh, yes.
But after that initial
good.
punch, now Abita, to me, that beer doesn't have that initial slap in the face.
No.
That this one does. But after 2 or 3 drinks, they almost seem identical to me. Like the fizz, the flavor, they're both kind of syrupy. Resemble almost a wine at that point.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at this point, I was like, oh, I like it.
I recently had the Purple Haze, and it is nowhere near as aggressive as this one.
No.
It is. Well,
So,
I
I
mean,
don't know if
throughout
it's
the
like-
whole thing, Abita's like a pretty good balance. This
Yeah.
is just like
And it might be
super tart.
it might be the mixed hoppy bear.
Hoppy bear.
The mixed berries
We make
have
a
like
beer.
a variety of hop flavor that kind of mellows that out. Whereas this is just the raspberries, so they're so pungent.
It could be the actual the brewing process where
Maybe.
the raspberries like just.
I mean,
But
Because
that's the thing,
It's
it's
just
like-
overpowering.
It doesn't even feel like it's the rest. It feels like there's syrup in there. There's some kind of syrup, and that's because I mean I've eaten just like raspberries in general,
Yeah, they're not that powerful.
and they're not that intense.
I've had some that are.
Really?
It
They
really
can
depends
be.
on the size. Like if you get some
can
big
be.
you get them big old berries.
if you get big raspberries, it hits you just that hard, depending on how ripe
I
they
mean,
are.
I've had raspberries that are like just like. Whoa,
What
did
fields
not
are you guys
expect that.
playing in? You see them big berries over there, Jared?
Big
Oh, I
berries.
see them big
Size of
berries.
your fist.
I'll be over there in a minute. You keep them berries entertained.
Right in a hurry.
Jared and I stay on the same side of the field. apparently.
Where me and Ethan are over on the German side, apparently, where there's nothing but hard work and sadness. Come over. Look at all the berries. They're so big. I don't know what accent that was supposed to be. But anyways,
It's your stereotypical German accent.
that is not
that
my
you're whipping out.
stereotypical German
It is.
accent.
No,
it
you
was
did
supposed
that-
to be you, and you're not supposed to be German.
supposed to be.
Yeah, it was supposed to be
me?
you talking about your berries on the other
Oh,
side
it
of the
sounds
fence.
like the same one that you used to read
Oh,
back in the
whatever.
day.
I can't remember. But anyway, so who recommended this beer for us?
It'd be Chad.
That would be Chad.
Listen here, Chad.
Listen here, Chad. Thank you for referring a beer for us. This is definitely interesting beer. I don't know if it's
I actually kind of like it. I'm not gonna lie. It's not.
if
that
you
bad.
if I take like small sips of it, or
I
if I'm
don't. Yeah,
like
I don't know
I'm
if I could have
controlling
any
it.
more than what we had.
Yeah, I don't
honest.
know.
Like,
Yeah,
you don't think you could finish that glass?
I mean, probably, but I mean, as
Like-
far as like, I wouldn't really want any more than that.
yeah, but that is a 1 glass beer.
yeah,
Yeah.
And they sell it in. I mean, they even sell it in 4-packs, so they don't sell it.
Yeah.
It's in smaller quantities and by itself.
but I mean, it's when you take the small intake of it, you don't get that syrup like flavor. Like when I first
You take a
my first
drink.
drink, I took like a entire mouthful and was like, oh man, that is
Yeah,
cough
if you sip it
syrup.
like wine,
Yeah, if you sip
Pretty
it like
much.
wine, it's very good.
9.2%.
Yeah, it's real.
That's crazy.
That's why it comes in 4
the
packs.
drink, I took a drink, and I mean, you can
Yeah.
you can tell there's alcohol in it. Like
I hate it, Chad.
It's
I
real
hate it.
bad.
I'm just kidding.
this is definitely a beer that if someone recommended, it would hit me hard like that. I would be a little off put.
and I wouldn't be friends with him anymore. To be 100% honest.
I could
know
finish it. Like I would
Automatically
finish,
don't like 'em.
I would finish the beer, but I don't think that I would like go that direction again.
I feel like it's one of those
Give
where
an
if you're like,
opportunity.
hey, I've got a beer for you to try. Let me get it, and you try it first.
Put on this blindfold. Sit down in my special chair. But I don't know. But it's not a bad beer.
So what would
That's
you
the
all
thing.
rate it?
No, it's not a bad
Out
beer.
of 5. Out of 5.5, what would you rate it? No.
Wait, I was about to say, why are we doing this? It's going to be out of 5. I'm always the first one to throw out a number. So
Okay,
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if
How
you
about-
do.
how about
I don't know if you
Kale?
do.
3.5.
Kale? I was going to say 2.5 out of 5.
2.5. I would say 2.5 as well.
2.5.
I have to give it a 3.5. But
So we'll
that's
say-
fine. 2.5 is fine.
We'll say 3 is the middle ground. It's not accurate math, but
2.75.
it's what I'm going to say it is.
I feel like 2.5 would be
2.75.
middle ground, but okay.
Well, you know what? If there's one thing that we really strive for here,
I'm just saying
on
it's not
Last
coming out.
Draft,
It's not
and
coming out to
truthfulness.
a 0.25. It's not coming out to a 0.25.
What would you rate it?
2.75. That's
What would you rate it?
It's not going to come out to that.
What would
but
you rate?
2.5. We already said it.
Oh, you said 2.5?
Yes.
Okay, that works. 2.75.
Tim just walked in.
It's not accurate math.
That doesn't make sense.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Jason's face is so red right now.
Oh, that was funny because I'm doing it, and I'm doing it because I'm like, I feel like it's actually going to be pretty close to 2.75.
Oh man.
I thought he said 3, and then I remembered he said 3.5, and I was like, oh, crap.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that was good. Oh man. Well, thank you, Chad. Thanks for recommending the beer. If you got any other ones, man, throw it our way. Oh man. So as always, like we do at the end of every episode, and I say it all the time, you can find us on iTunes, you can find us on Spotify. So go subscribe, leave a comment, follow us. It means the world to us. You can also find us on Facebook at Laughs and Drafts.
We're on Twitter and Instagram as well. We have some pretty good content on there. We are at Laughs in Drafts on Twitter, and on Instagram it is Laughs in Drafts Pod. So check it out.
You can also find us at patreon.com at Laughs and Drafts and Reddit at Laughs and Drafts.
Yeah, so man, Kale,
Thank you.
It's been fun having you here.
Yeah.
I like seeing your face.
Oh.
I don't get to see
I
it
wish
very
other people
often.
could.
You would be surprised of what Kale, because what Kale looks like and what he sounds like are two very different things. He's actually
He's
about
a great radio
He's
voice.
6'5", about 270. What would you say? 270 pounds.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Polish body hair for sure, all
Looks like
over, covered in
Bigfoot.
hair.
The Irish in me just cringes as you say that.
Oh, you said Polish. Ew. Yeah, I haven't done the ancestry test. I'm actually wanting to do that because I'm pretty sure. I think that according to my family, I'm Welsh and German.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to come out 100% Polish because I'm just way too hairy to not be Polish. There's no way. I have to be Polish.
Is it a common thing, and I don't mean just you in general, it's going to come off sounding mean, but is it strange?
Are you?
Are you the gay?
Are you the only disgusting one in your family? I know
No,
that
I
I've
mean-
seen the rest of your family, but I see you.
Well, like,
You just stick out.
like Polish people, they can be super hairy, but like lose their hair at an early age.
And I'm losing my
Isn't that
hair.
weird?
I'm losing my
Isn't that
hair at an
weird?
early age. I used to have the thickest hair too on my head, and now I have the thickest hair on my back.
On your head? That's what you said?
It
Yes,
just migrates.
Now it's on my other hand.
and now it's working its way up the
It's all
shaft.
going inside.
That's the direction it goes.
It just curls back. Yep, works its way on down.